so basically what I did in the Arthur object, I gave him a relative health to 150. I still have to change it around though, because it's not relative to him, it's relative to everyone. So I have to give everyone individual health values. Because for some reason, if you use the tab under the score, that health is shared across all characters. So I have to actually set like a variable for each character. So I'll change that in a bit. Let's see. I didn't change that. The outside room, if he goes outside the room, he gets destroyed and he gets sent back to the checkpoint, or he gets sent back to the start position. It's pretty standard. At the end, it creates a sprite of the sword, which is here. And I made one for both the left and the right, and the animation goes like this. So when he's actually swinging it, it looks like he's, swinging motion. And anytime the sword collides, with the object monster, which is the rat, it plays the sound kill monster, which sounds like this. That's like the death. The actual sword swing, which I got that from Roz, and I converted it to a wave because it came in like a FLAC file. That would be this one. Sounds like this. So you get a real different sound effect between this just swinging and actually making contact with the armored rats. And every time it collides with the rat, it sets the health to -10. So I ran through the scales and I tested how many hits. It takes roughly about 5 hits, because the collision can be varied depending on which angle you're hitting the rat from. This is just an alarm event, so it goes through a step of 5. There's 4 frames for the sword, so giving it an alarm of 5 just gives it a little leeway. So once it hits 0 out of those steps of 5, it destroys the sword, so it doesn't just stay on the screen. Okay. I changed the down button crouches obviously, but it also now creates the shield. And what the shield is it's a shield, so it blocks incoming attacks, whether it be the arrow or some of the rat mans. I'm actually gonna give them melee attacks, so it'll block it'll block melee and ranged attacks. I already had that. The shield object looks like this. Pretty standard sprite. I just got one offline and modified it to fit my taste. This is a 5 sprite, also offline. It's a GIF file, so it actually looks like it's moving. This is the council meeting room, where you have the 5 council members and Arthur on the lower part of the screen. When this room starts, I'm going to either have a dialogue that one of the council members is going to ask him to approach the center of the meeting, and once the player collides with this log right here, it triggers a dialogue. So it triggers a sequence of dialogue that the player can read, and it'll have a little brief description of the story, and then it'll tell them which direction to go, which will be over here to the east. All the backgrounds in the trees, I made those. They're not just like a picture. So like the trees are actually objects. example, this is the one type of tree. They don't actually have any code or anything because they don't do anything except be trees, so they don't need anything. But they are solid and they are visible once the room starts. Same thing goes for this one, just a different variation. And I just mixed them in, small trees, large trees, just to give it a kind of, real kind of generic forest feel. It's nighttime, so I gave it a moonlit background. And the logs are just set in a strategic place so it'll appear as though they could sit if they wanted. Okay, so I made the arrows for the crossbow shooters, the archer rats. They're able to shoot arrows at Arthur. So once the arrow is created, it moves towards Arthur. And here you can see that I put the, it's kind of like a scripting language, like the GML is, for the X and the Y. So instead of the X and Y being numeric values, it's actually Arthur's position. So they move relative to his position with a speed of 5. It'll give players less time to react, so it'll give them more of a thrill. If the arrows collide with the shield, they get destroyed, so that's how you get the blocking effect, and it also plays the kill monster sound. And if the arrows go out of the screen, they get destroyed, so they don't just go on forever. Let me go back. I'm actually going to add some more in here because this is not enough to cover, the basis of the arrow's functionality. But under the archer rat, there's more. When earlier in class, you saw that I had the arrows firing, but they were firing at an extremely rapid pace, which was not conducive to good gameplay. So I had to put this little step in here where if the instance of Arthur Rat, which would be the player, is equal to 1, so as long as there's one object player, which there always will be at one time, then it starts this whole block of code right here. But within that block of code, I had to put some parameters to limit it because it would still only do it once. So if there's one Arthur and then starts block of code, if there is 5 arrows on screen at once, it will not, they won't shoot any more arrows. After one disappears or 2 disappears, then they'll shoot more. So it'll create another instance of the arrow with the same speed. Else, and then it just repeats this way, so I can repeat as many times as I want. That's relevant. Once this has no more health, it plays the sound field monster and it changes it into the object rat dead, which is just a little pile of blue, so it looks like it got destroyed. I'm also gonna have to change this character. I want to add like a create event, which is this, and in that create I'm gonna have to change its variable health and give it its own health. I'll probably give the archers less health than the melee characters because they're far away, so depending on that, I might have to balance it out. This is the test room that I set up for the archers and to make sure that this object here would move towards Arthur. So I put him in a little box, but he doesn't collide with the boxes because I have not set the values for him to collide with it yet. So he just kind of passes through and follows Arthur wherever he goes at a slower speed. Give you a little taste. Dialogue, or I have the dialogue say here. But as you can see, there's only 5 arrows on the screen at any one time. So once one gets destroyed, they're able to shoot it again. And just to show you that the health is shared, so once one is destroyed, they're all destroyed, which won't be the case once I finish. Everything in here looks invisible because there's no textures on it. But inside of this invisible box right here, that treasure sack generates a random power-up. And for the most part, most of my objects are done. I just have to, change some of the coding, and then once those objects are done, that's the most difficult part is going to be the level design. So that's just me laying out the levels the way that I want them to be laid out. So once, give you an example, all the objects are done, so I can do something like this, where I cover the bottom, and let's say I put trees along the way, right there. I want to put a whole bunch to give it a forest effect. And let's say I want to put some small ones in the back. And I don't know, let's put a sack here. Let's put it right there. I'm just putting stuff in various places. I'll have like a layout of what I want where. And some characters are different. For example, I have 3 instances of Arthur. This Arthur is the main Arthur that the players would use to actually do battle, whereas this Arthur is just for the title screen. So all he does is move to give the illusion that he's being used, and he's on a loop. So that's why he walks forward, shoots the Acorn, kills the first rat, and then the second rat kills him, and then it loops again. And then this Arthur is for the console member room. He has a completely different set of movement skills. With this Arthur has gravity, this one does not. So whenever the player pushes left, up, right, down, left, whatever, the gravity is set in that direction. So it gives the illusion of an over-the-top view. And if I were to run this room,